So, I've been trying to get this video done through 3 different times before this one, and it seemed just like something would happen every time. Once it was raining, it started raining. Second time, it was very windy. And then last night, I actually had the video done, edited, and I was watching through it, and you know what? I wasn't satisfied. I was talking too fast, stumbling over my words, so I scrapped it and decided to come today and redo this. So, this fort was established in 1842, right before the Civil War, and what it was a fort that was in a long line of forts that went from Minnesota down to Louisiana, and the purpose of this was to help enforce a permanent Indian frontier, to help the Native Americans find their own land. But which eventually later they would just forget about that idea, and then the army left this fort numerous times and had to come back because of the violence and everything like that. So, now this building right here, what you're looking at, this right here is the visitor center, which was the hospital. And also, it was in the 20s, I believe. I remember reading it right, because I've found out more things about this fort doing the research than I knew. Because apparently, I think it was in the 20s, and I'm not for sure about this exact date, but this is where George Washington Carver went to school. Because they actually made this building into a coloreds-only school during that time. And George Washington Carver, he said he wanted to go to Kansas colored schools because they had more opportunities and they taught better than in Missouri, which I didn't even know that until 2 days ago, which was kind of mind-blowing. But yeah, this is the visitor center, and it was a school at one point, and it was the hospital. So basically on the Indian frontier, this was a place for people like the Osage to come, and they were, basically trying to get them their own land, which we all know what happened there. It fell through. And Fort Scott, this fort was home to infantry soldiers and dragoons and elite troops. Now, if we look right here, this big building right here, this is actually an infantry barrack. And later on, after the fort gets sold, this will end up becoming a Western hotel. Well, it's called the Western Hotel, and it's a pro-slavery hotel. But we'll get into this a little bit more when we get around the yard of the fort. So in the 1840s, settlers flocked to Oregon and California, and this is where most of the dragoons' missions would actually go. They would be on the Santa Fe Trail. They'd be on the Oregon Trail too, to help prevent Native Americans from harassing settlers and people, passing by and taking the trail. So, and then both of the infantry and the dragoon troops that were stationed here, they actually went and fought in the Mexican-American War, which was 1846 to 1848. Some served in New Mexico, others served in Buena Vista. Now, I'm going to go up here and look at the powder magazine. I believe that's what it's called. Okay, so this building right here on the fort, this is where they would store, explosives, cartridges, fuses, things like that, black powder, gunpowder, and that's where they would store them. If you notice right here, this big thing right here, that's a lightning rod, and that's what they used to kind of detour? I don't know, but it's what they used to, have lightning strike that instead of, striking this building and it go boom. So, I'll take a look around here real quick, and then, but yeah, that's what this is, and it's a giant lightning rod. Giant. Not too much around this building, so we'll just turn around and go back this way. And this is the back of the hospital right here. But yeah, I found it mind-blowing that George Washington Carver went to school here, and this was actually a colored-only schoolhouse at one point, which I knew Fort Scott was pro-slavery, and I know there's a few places that, where there's remnants of, whites only. Like, there's a rumor that there was out there on a 2nd Street, which is where there's a kind of a big open field park, and there's rumors that there was a coloreds-only pool still remains out there. So I thought about doing something about that on a video about this colored school that was here and everything like that, and I may do that. But I really need to dig down and do some hardcore research for that, because I'm not sure about everything, where that's located at and everything. Now what we're looking at right here, this is the guard shack. The guard quarters. I know for sure in here there's actual 2 or 3 jail cells. Whoops. But yeah. And this is going to be a 2-part video, just to let you guys know. This is just going to be the outside today, and then we'll come back and take a look on the inside and see all that stuff, because again, I work full time. I got to take care of my mom and my kids and make sure they get everywhere. And yeah, when I get off work, by the time I get done with everything else, it's almost like 4:30, and it'll be time for them to leave, and I don't want to get rushed through it, so that's why I'm going to break it up into 2 videos. And this right here, this actually tells about the 1st Kansas Colored Infantry, and this was where the 1st Kansas Colored Infantry and the 2nd Kansas Colored Infantry was actually where they trained, and it was their home. And the captain of the 1st Kansas Colored Infantry was this gentleman right here, Captain William Matthews. And what they did was the Kansas 1st Colored Infantry and the 2nd Colored Infantry, they fought around in the 4 states area, freeing other slaves. And this was actually slaves that actually came here, and they volunteered to join so they could help free other slaves. Now, the other commander of the 2nd Colored Infantry was Samuel Johnson Crawford. And I'll throw up some pictures of these guys and who they were, and so that way you can guys see what the old fort looked like and everything like that. And this right here, I'm not sure exactly what this house is, because what I was looking at, it said it was restrooms, and I don't know if that means restrooms for like us to use while we're over here, or if this was like a showers quarter, and a bathing area and bathing station and things like that. So I'm not 100% sure on this building. And let's see here. It's an infantry barrack. Okay. Yeah, so this is an infantry barrack. Now, if we go over here to this building, this was the quartermaster's storehouse. And now, basically what this is where they would store everything, like food and stuff like that, ingredients and all that stuff. Now, some of these buildings back here, some of these stone ones, I definitely do not know what they are, and we'll probably have to find that out when we go and actually go inside and take a visit. But there's another house out back behind here, which is basically like a bakery. And during the times the fort was active, when the dragoons and the infantry troops, they had to do, it's pretty, from what I read, it was pretty monotonous, kind of boring. And so basically all they had to do was chores around here, like chop trees, come over and help in the bakehouse, bake food, and things of that nature. So this is the bakehouse over here. You guys can see it. I'm not going to walk all the way over. I'll just zoom in a little bit, because we can't even see anything hardly. But yeah, that's the bakehouse. As far as this house goes, I'm not for sure what that is, and we'll have to find out when we go in. I used to know, because I've came over here a few times, but I never really got dug down deep into the history and reading, which now that I'm older, seems foolish, because I was young when that happened. I was probably 18, 19 years old, and I'm 40 now. My bad, guys. Yeah, I believe this was the commander's of the fort's house, I think. Now this one, well, I know for sure was an officer's quarter. And the one next to it was too. Yeah, this is the officer's quarters. Well, there's two sections. One was officer's quarters, number one, which was made into the Free State Hotel, and this one was, I don't know what this got made into. It didn't really go into it, but it was an officer's quarter. But we'll walk over here real quick and take a look at the well, which they had a well. Hope my thumb's not covering the mic. Like I said, guys, I'm waiting on an adapter, and I have a wireless mic setup that I'm going to try to use if this works, so that way you guys can hear me better. And it's cut off. Yeah, I remember that. And there's actually people out here walking, so I'm going to walk this way so I don't film them. But yeah, there wasn't too many battles near here. I mean, there's Mine Creek, but that's kind of a drive from us. Probably, I don't know, roughly 30 to 40 miles. Nothing really severe happened here. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to read my guide about these, so I'll make sure I get everything right. Sorry, I know it sucks. I'm using notes, and I should try to remember everything, but I just can't remember everything. I mean, I just can't. And I want to make a decent video, and my camera movement's suffering because of it. I'm not gonna lie. Okay, and this is the one that was made into the Free State Hotel. And we can actually walk up here, so I might just walk up here. But yeah, they had quite a few ruckuses apparently between this hotel and the one across from it, which was the Western Hotel. I'll go up here, get a good shot of everything.
That's what she said.
Yes, that is what she said. And this is just basically a full shot of the old fort. Pretty cool. And you can get I don't want to film these people across the street, so look over here. But yeah, directly in front of us, in front of this tree, is the Western Hotel, which was pro-slavery. The one that I'm standing on right now, this was anti-slavery. I don't want to film those people, so I'm going to walk around and we'll look at the postmaster headquarters, which is right next door. Let me double check that first. Alright, we're going to stand right here for a second. Is that the postmaster headquarters? No, that's the post headquarters. This building's where the commander would oversee things, basically like a day-to-day operation place. He'd like do court martials from here and things like that, of that nature. And that's what that building was used for. I'm gonna walk down some steps. Oh jeez. This is where the Dragoons would stay. This is their Dragoon barracks. And this also talks about Bleeding Kansas a little bit, which, you know, it was, you know, pro-slavery guys, anti-slavery guys, And basically they started just fighting over what states that they wanted slavery to still be legal. Nobody could make a decision on what they wanted. All the states, it was starting to get a mess. And that's what happened with Bleeding Kansas. The pro-slavery, the abolitionists, and the free staters, they could not come together on how they wanted to do things. And right there, that's John Montgomery. He's the one that actually set fire to the Western Hotel over here. And he did 2 different raids, and I know one, a deputy marshal was killed, or a former deputy marshal was killed. And this just talks about, John Little. He was this says it right here. This says it right here. A bullet pierced John Little's skull as he peered from the window above the door of his father's store, formerly the post headquarters. Reconstructed the head and tear left. So that was where the store was, and that's where John Little was shot in the skull. Well, the head. But they did have a few fights and things here, that's for sure. This just talks about Officers Row, and this is what this section right here is. And my shadow's getting away again. And right here, this big old long building, this is the Dragoon stables. This is where they would keep their horses. And it's still actively used when they do Civil War reenactments. And when they brought the Budweiser Clydesdales down here, after I moved down here, this is probably maybe 3 or 4 years, this is where they had them, and I actually came up here and seen some of those Clydesdales. It was really cool. Beautiful horses. Just gorgeous. And this talks about the Dragoon stables and what the Dragoons did here. Basically, it just says the Dragoons were assigned here to protect the trade and enforce Indian policy. And, like I said in the little short before this, what they did on the Santa Fe Trail and Oregon Trail. And that's the old fort. Oh, forgot to go look at the Civil War cannon. Maybe we should go over there, then head out. I'm gonna walk across. And they do fire this cannon. This is an active cannon, too. There's a noise over there by that building, and I don't know what it is. I thought it was workers, but it's... Yeah. I can imagine this thing going off. Look in the hole. Alright guys, so that's pretty much it for right now. Part 2 will be coming up soon. As soon as my next day off, I'm going to try to get over here if I don't go somewhere else. So I hope you guys enjoyed me stumbling over my words and sounding like a buffoon. Sorry. But yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and we will talk to you next time, and have a good night.